Hello, beloved twin flames. Here I am again. I've been receiving some more information and I'm driving along in my car, so I do apologise for the extra noise in the background for that. I've just been processing some information that's been coming through since last night and this morning for my own personal twin flame journey. And, you know, as always, because we're working together as a team, there might be some others of you out there that are working on the same level and the same aspect. So just want to acknowledge first of all the highly evolved souls that twin flames are. And you know, I'm not saying that we're better than everyone else or I'm better than anyone else, but essentially we've got mainstream consciousness, which is the general population that are kind of going about their day, that are, you know, predominantly reasonably unconscious, and then the awakened souls that are still kind of just coming to terms with some of the new being awakened, what that means, newly awakened. And then you've got people that have been doing this process for a very long time, and souls that have advanced to quite a level of just being in a higher level of consciousness and awareness, and holding a certain vibration of energy, which allows the ability to receive more information and light, and to also to feel more compassion and more love, and to also have more of a mastery over the emotional realm. So this message is for those that are on that reasonably on that self-mastery level. So so it's an interesting dance. Again, we know that the twin flame journey and even the life journey, you know, doesn't necessarily have to be the twin flame journey, but we are balancing the polarities within ourselves. We're still doing that because we live in a third dimensional duality aspect. We're still finding that in many ways we go often from one extreme polarity to the other, and then come back again in the middle to balance that out, to learn the lesson. And so that I found that often my higher self, my guidance or my spiritual guidance that I receive from the higher realms often feels as if it's contradicting itself at different times throughout my journey, but it will just depend on the learning at the levels that we're passing through different stages. So, and that's part of the harmonization and the balance, is that one time you'll be learning, for example, one of the greatest ones is the balance between surrender and totally surrendering to the divine plan, and just allowing things and just letting go and just being in full flow. And then the other balanced end of that polarity is, the other polarity of that is manifestation and being a co-creator and being an active action, actively participating in the process of creation. And then, you know, we come back into the balance again, and you may find that you work in harmony with you, in your own self with those two aspects, or with others with those aspects, and groups, with your twin as well, those that are in harmonization and union. So personally for me, what I've just been learning and what I am learning, and I'd love to hear other people's comments on this if people have had this experience within the twin flame journey. But one of my lessons quite early on was total surrender and letting go and trusting in the not having an attachment to outcomes, just letting be what it was, you know, and not to try and control or manipulate the situation. And so I've very much been in that allowing stage almost for a year now, with my twin flame phenomena experience in my life and my journey. And so I feel like that was possibly, you know, one part of a polarity that I needed to experience. And then the next part of my experience that I'm being asked to look at currently is now to shift that and to become more onto the other polarity. And essentially the words that I'm getting are kind of basically spiritual ninja, like so I'm getting asked to really step up and really be very active in terms of, there are certain things that I've begun to allow that I shouldn't be allowing. So again, it's it's that extreme. When we're sitting on one end of the extreme of allowing, how much do you allow? Do you allow yourself to be, treated badly? Do you allow yourself to something to go on in your world that is really unhealthy? How much do we allow, and then how much do we then step in to become take an action role? So the last couple of days, and actually it's been over the last week, I've been experiencing, I think I mentioned it in one of my other videos, a bit of interference that's been going on. And so I feel like the test has been to recognise that when it's coming into the union, and to get out my spiritual warrior tools, to get out my because we do that when we call on the support of our archangels. For example, Archangel Michael, many of you will know how to use Archangel Michael, who comes in with his sword and he cuts the cords and he removes negative forces and fear from our energy field. And again, I also call on, for example, Lord Shiva, who's the destroyer of evil, and I actually call on him to come in and deal with some of the nasties. Well, guess what? The next stage is we're going to be doing that ourselves. We're going to be actually no longer necessarily calling on these other, because that kind of almost puts us in a state of being victims, that we always need this help and support from. And so I'm getting told, you are the one that is going to be destroying and removing these energies, and you're going to be doing that. So, and because they've come in again, and what I've seen in terms of a bigger picture is that when I first met my twin, it wasn't long after that he seemed to be in a relationship with another person, and I didn't have the whole picture of that information of what that relationship was. And so in the early stages, I really stepped back and I recognised that person was in his life, because I needed to learn some lessons around not being jealous, around letting him go, around recognising that she was there to help with the separation phase of me needing to turn back and do some of my own internal work, that we weren't ready for the union yet, that he wasn't also ready for the union and for the intensity of the union. So she kind of was acting in the way of being like a comfort, as sort of like a comforter or a blanket or a pillow in the way, cushioning the intensity of our relationship. So I thought, she very much had her purpose, and so I've been very much allowing and respectful of what she has been in terms of the role that she's played in our journey. And so now it's just come to pass probably in the last month or so, that both my twin and I have been mirroring letting go of these unhealthy relationships in our lives. And for me, it was a friendship. And what I've found out since is that this so-called relationship that he was having with this girl was actually just a friendship, but it was a really kind of deep, intense kind of one that is hard to explain. And but she was always wanting something more and something more and something more, and he wasn't really giving it to her, but he was kind of allowing her, and he was doing the allowing too. He was allowing her to be there, to just kind of be in his energy field, and to be taking from him and needing him and being so needy for that love. So in the last week, he's been in the process of letting her go, and he's tried several times to cut her off, reasonably unsuccessfully. Like, she just wasn't getting the message, and I think he sort of did the final cut, the final blow in the last week, and she's reacted really strongly to that and gone into a lot of pain. And so being an empath person, and I also know her as well, because she's also a friend, because we're all friends, and she, came to me with a lot of the pain, and so, I was, as I'm a counsellor and a healer, giving her some tips on how to, assist her process, and anyway, then went away. And then afterwards, later on that night, I realised that there was an energy that was attached to her, and that energy was trying to come on into me. And the energy was kind of really spiky. It was really, it come into my dream, and it was a psychic attack energy. I woke up and felt the spikes starting to go in, and I was like, so we've had an energy force attached to this person that I thought was supposedly important in terms of our learning. Well, there are other things going on that I wasn't aware of, and I'm now aware of, and I'm seeing a bigger picture. So what it's brought to my attention is that I can't sit back and let these things come in to our union. I feel like my higher self is asking me to step up and remove these really nasty things that are getting in the way, and not just to let them be there and think that they're part of the learning. So it's kind of really toughening up. I'm getting a sense, and maybe this is a message for all of us, that we have to really protect our union. We fight for our union. Our union's really important, and we've been through the surrender stage. Maybe we're done with that. I don't know if this is a collective twin flame message. If it is, I really like to hear from you all. I feel like, it might not be where some people are at, so don't go rushing out and studying, because I think for some people the lesson is still not to, it's not about controlling and manipulating and trying to get your twin to love you. It's about recognizing that there are some things in the way of the union that show up in this way that may also be coming from our own selves, but they're just showing up like this. It's time to remove them. It's time to get them out. We've got to become spiritual ninjas. It's time to be warriors and use and employ any of the techniques and tools we've got to really work on this clearing the energy thing, because it's time to step it up. It's step it up to the next level. That's the message I'm getting. Get your gumboots on, get your staunch steel cap boots, get your protective gears on, get your armour, get staunch, where it's time to deal with some of these negative energies that have been plaguing not only, the humanity and the planet for so long. They're getting in the way of us, and we've got a mission to do, guys. We've got to step in here. It's time to do some of the hard, get in amongst it work. It's time for this. So, I'd like to hear from people about this. I really appreciate you hearing me and listening to this video. And thank you. Blessings for your journey. Love and light, spiritual warriors.